since the pandemic's going on and we can't do a whole lot of social interaction, we're doing these virtual beers live here on Facebook Live and on YouTube. And so check them out on our YouTube channel as well. Anybody who's on YouTube, welcome. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Frank About Beer. So, as always, hope this finds you happy, healthy, safe. Big shout out to our first responders and essential employees for making life livable for all of us over all these many months. Really do appreciate it. As always, if you're looking for a great brewery near you, you can check it out at frankaboutbeer.com. I've got a page there that lists all the breweries in Maryland. I even have a link to one that breaks it down by county. So you can find a brewery near you. Another great resource is my friend Kendrick at Maryland Craft Beer. He's at mdcraftbeer.net. He has an awesome spreadsheet that is completely sortable, that is able to help you find a brewery. If you want to find one that has outdoor seating, or is pet friendly, or has indoor pickup or delivery options, he has all that stuff there. mdcraftbeer.net. I will have that in the show notes on a link on Frank About Beer's Facebook page tomorrow morning. So I'll have that on there so you can click on it then. Let's see. Additionally, our friends at the Brewers Association of Maryland, also known as BAM, they're a wonderful organization that helps great breweries like your favorite breweries here in Maryland with all kinds of legislation and support. And because they have not been able to host some of their big fundraisers this year that helps support them, they could use your support in turn. If you can kick a few bucks their way, maybe what you would spend on a 4-pack or a 6-pack, or even a ticket to the great festivals that they run, including the Maryland Craft Beer Festival in Frederick, or the Baltimore Craft Beer Festival in Baltimore. They haven't been able to do those this year. They could really use your help. I'll have a link to that on the show notes tomorrow morning as well on Frank About Beer. You can find them on PayPal and on BeerMe. I don't know the BeerMe link, but the PayPal is paypal.me/sofasippin'. So kick them a few bucks. It'll go a long way towards really helping things out for them. So friends, as always, I always like to bring you somebody who I find really interesting, a brewery that is making fantastic beer. Um, just like I say, just people I really find interesting, and this week is no different. I for those of you who have been around Maryland beer for a while, you are probably familiar with Antietam Brewing out there in Hagerstown, Maryland. And friends, if you haven't tried them recently, don't sleep on that brewery, man. They're doing some really wonderful things these days. Really, really solid beers. And tonight, I'm thrilled to have on the show Brewer I am Brewer Bret Kimbrough. Bret, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, it's no problem. I'm not that famous, so don't worry about my name. It's okay.
Oh, that's right. Well, you will be after this. People will be lining up. So let's see. I see my friend Gary is on the show already. I know he and his wife were sitting in your tap room this afternoon.
Oh, awesome.
Enjoying some of the new beer releases, which we will get to momentarily. So friends, as always, let us know what's in your glass. We're all here to share a beer together. Let us know what's in your glass. Bret, that looks like something amazing in your glass. What are you starting out with tonight?
This is our Kolsch Das Boot, and it's just fantastic. I love it.
Oh man, I love it. Friends, as always, let us know in the comments what you're drinking tonight. So yeah, Das Boot, man, that's a good one. God, I haven't had that in a while. So I hate to admit it, I have not been to Antietam in way too long. And by way too long, I mean a couple months. Because man, you guys are putting out some solid beer. I really love what you guys are doing. How many beers do you have on tap?
Gosh, a good dozen, I would say right now.
That's what I was thinking.
About the right number there, guys? Yeah, we Just besides the new releases, we got all of our good solid core stuff. Uh, really outstanding Hefeweizen
Mhm.
that is no joke. It's at least 60% wheat.
Yes.
16 on draft, I'm just told. Breaking
Okay.
news. And our red ale, outstanding. Our brown ale, I really love them. I have a reputation amongst my friends in the business of being a real purist, so I tend to gravitate towards beers like that. And our core stuff, we do a lot of great seasonals, the hazies and the sours, but um, fundamentally, we're really sound, and that's one of the things I like about here is we show some flash for cash, but really the basis is, we make really fundamentally sound beers, and I really like what we make here. So in the last year since I've been here, I've really had a good time
Yeah.
brewing with these folks.
And Matt wants to know right off the bat, can you get full pours or
Yes,
full pints? There you go. All right. So Matt will probably be showing up in your brewery very soon. He's a
Matt
regular one.
is actually standing about 8 feet to my right. He's
Oh,
properly
there you
social
go.
distance. Yeah,
See, I
and
thought no,
you
I was
understand, it's almost like
I was
being a
waiting to see.
politician.
Yeah,
I have a couple of handlers on each side of me, making sure that
love it.
are being on TV. Don't give away the plot.
Exactly.
Episode 5 is a secret.
Yeah, I was looking to see how many people would pick up on that on the thing about Matt being in the brewery soon. So
Oh, someone drinking Little Ben's. I love milk stouts.
yeah,
That's a good beer.
yeah,
Fun to
and
make, fun to drink.
yeah, and I know the backstory to Little
Yes,
Ben's, and the which is a heartbreaking one. There you go. It's hard to tell with the masks these days. But yeah, the story behind Little Ben's is kind of heartbreaking, but just love that now it's been brewed for Bill's son and everything. Really really solid beer that which has been one of yours. One of the ones there at Antietam for quite a while, correct?
yeah, it's an original without a
Yeah,
doubt, and it's one that I drank several times because I gravitate toward milk stout several times before I even worked here.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's really when I sit out in the tap room,
Mhm.
uh, I'd say at least half the time I grab a Little Ben's, and I don't do it too much because I've got a long drive home, but I do like to stick around when I can
Yeah.
or take a bit home.
Well, we talked about Lil Ben's being an original there, or one of the early ones, and that's one of the ones that I definitely recommend or remember from my days of early my early days of being aware of you guys. Can, can you back up and just sort of tell us the backstory on how the brewery got started?
Uh, well, it actually started as a small venture as part of Benny's Pub, is my understanding. And as success came, so did growth. And about, I guess it's going on 3 years now. They moved out here to this big building, and Aaron came on about 2 years ago and put the brewery on a real golden road.
Yeah,
And I joined about a year ago, and um, in that time, uh, in the 2 years since Aaron has been here, and in the year since I've been here, we've really busted our tails to make sure that we're the cleanest, most sound, most technically proficient brewery we can be.
yeah,
And it's real that growth and professionalism is part of the ownership too, and they've supported us the whole way.
mhm,
So it really started as one guy's dream to have some local beer, and turned into something that is a real juggernaut. And
mhm.
we're going to go through our second expansion in a little over a month.
Oh
We're
wow.
adding 3 tanks. We added a 30-barrel tank earlier this about a year ago, and
Mhm.
we're adding 2 30-barrel fermenters and a 15-barrel bright in about 5 weeks when they come off the boat.
Wow, that's fantastic. Man, congratulations. You guys have one hell of a setup out there. Um, I first saw it, gosh, probably a few years ago, I guess, with your previous brewer. But yeah, the man, that's like you say, it's evident as soon as you walk into that brew house how clean you guys keep everything.
Yeah,
And
and
it's yeah,
it's getting harder the busier we get, and we've actually brought on a part-time third person to support us
Yeah.
because we want to maintain those standards, and we don't want to overwhelm ourselves because lowering our standards is just not something that's part of the equation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we brought on some help, and because without that cleanliness, everything else simply doesn't matter.
Exactly.
I used to tell people all the time, we're just glorified janitors. As
Yeah.
long as we keep things clean, we get to make beer as a reward.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're doing the ownership is doing what it takes to support us to make sure that every can of beer we put out is what everybody wants.
Yeah. And and hiring people that know better, including you and Aaron, and friends. For those of you who may not know, Aaron came from Vanish a few years ago, and man, honestly, the and I'm not just saying this because you happen to be on the show, but man, just the last couple of years, the quality of Antietam's beers has really turned around, and just really a stunning portfolio that you guys are putting together these days.
Well, I appreciate that, and one reason Aaron and I get along is at work is because Aaron really is about fundamentals and about even on some of the flashier stuff we do, real traditional and restrained brewing, and
Yeah.
I think that's what's done it. You swing at the pitches you can hit,
Mhm.
and and fortunately, when you're really fundamentally sound, you're a
Mhm.
good hitter, and Aaron's
Yeah.
a good hitter. He knows when to add and when to subtract.
Mhm.
And I think that's been really the key to Aaron. And of course, when you work for Larry, you go around with down at Vanish, you go around with Q-tips killing individual microbes. So the
I've
cleaning
heard
SOPs
that.
that we built are really good too. And yeah, and I think that's really been the key to Aaron's success is focus and really sound fundamentals. And you learn those from guys like Larry and the other places he's worked. And
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to be mentored by people as well for whom those real traditional fundamentals were paramount.
Yeah.
And so I think that's and that's what's carrying us in that direction. So I really appreciate that people are seeing that. It really does my heart good.
Mhm. We got a couple notes. Bob says, "Make Raise the Dead a core beer."
I know that a lot of people feel that way, including a lot of people who work here. It's my girlfriend's favorite beer. If I could have a tap line run straight to the house, I'm sure you know I would never have to do housework again. She would be so happy with me. But yeah, if that is in the cards, we will definitely play that card. That is something I would have to talk to Aaron and Bill about. Bill Skomsky, our owner, but if we could do it, we will. And the expansion might allow it. You never know.
There you go. Well, so we talked a lot about Aaron and everything. Brett, how did you get into the brewing world?
But I got lucky. Was really what happened. I'm kind of a grandpa in this business now, even though I know I look like a dashing young hero. Um, yeah, and Mayo and Taylor just said yes, I agree. And just so you know, that is my girlfriend. I don't have a fan club. Well, I do, and she's it. But so I was going to college at Kansas State University. My dad and I had homebrewed a little bit when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I was finishing up college. And the assistant brewer at the local brew pub, Little Apple Brewing Company, quit, and I asked if I could have the job,
Yeah.
and they said okay. And really, it was 1996, and it kind of went on from there. I went to the American Brewers Guild in 1997, and then took what I thought would be a really brief break to go into the culinary world. I went to the CIA, got my baking and pastry degree, and that brief break turned into 10 years. But luckily, about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I got an offer to get back into brewing down at Growlers in Maryland
Oh, yeah.
when they were going. And I never looked back.
Mhm.
Uh, I didn't like the 112 million hours a week of the culinary business anymore, and I was getting a little too old for the lifestyle. So I got really lucky again to get back into brewing, and I've been bouncing around between Maryland and Northern Virginia since then. Making beer where people let me, and now I'm at Antietam, and I'm hoping I've landed here for a good long time because I'm really, really enjoying it.
Yeah. Do you remember what your first beer was that you brewed?
Wow, that's a good question. Oh, the first beer I had to brew on my own was actually a wheat beer at Little Apple Brewing Company because I'd been in the business for all of 3 months, and I had to brew by myself because my brewmaster had to go to get back surgery, and we didn't know how long he'd be gone, and I was terrified. And I'm talking as someone who's a military veteran. I was in the infantry in the Army, and I was scared to death. Uh, so, um, but
And nothing
we
like
got
starting off with a hard one either, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I got through it, and the Wildcat week got made, and it turned out okay. And fortunately, the surgery was minor for the head brewer, and we got back on track. But my first beer I brewed as a head brewer was a wee heavy, because that's my favoriteest thing in the whole world.
Nice.
And yeah, so I brewed a wee heavy, and that was also the first thing I brewed when I got my second head brewer job at Growlers. When Matt Hagerman, the owner of Lost Rhino, was leaving, he said, "What do you want to brew?" I said, "A wee heavy," and so we brewed that. We called it Warhammer. So
Yeah.
those are kind of my first brew experiences.
Yeah. Just because, and it's funny you say wee heavy. Like I never hear that from anybody. Just for people watching, explain some of the flavor profiles for us on a wee heavy.
My buddy Brian Roberts just commented,
Yep.
and he's the owner of Mad Science. He's got a wee heavy on right now that we brewed with him called Wheezy. That's very, very good. And wee heavies are, the mother of all Scottish ales. So, and I'm a malt head, and I know that's an archaic way to be, but I've always been a malt head. If I do go for hops, I go for big German Pilsners. I love big hoppy German Pilsners. And I respect IPAs that are made well, but they're just not where I, go when I'm looking for a beer. But they're very malty, got a slightly natural smoky character from the yeast, and these great underlying kind of mapley, woody characters from the specialty malts in them. And they're really a perfect beer for by the fire pit, because the flavor, the smells of the fire pit and the aromas and the flavors of these wee heavies are really complementary. And fire pits being an autumn thing, the 7-8% alcohol you get out of a good wee heavy also gets your cheeks kind of warm.
Yeah.
But I love the rich, very earthy kind of spicy malt character of them. It's really deep, and when they're really well made, they're not like syrupy, like some poor examples could be. Sometimes some big commercial examples, they're really lush and almost marshmallowy on your tongue, and that tactile sensation is also part of what I really like about them.
Yeah. Man. Oh, that's cool. Oh, geez. That's man. No, that's awesome. It's so many times it's sort of like, oh yeah, I love IPAs or whatever. But man, like wee heavy. I can tell. I can hear your CIA background creeping in when you start talking flavor profiles like that. I love it.
It's been a huge boost, and I when I got to Growlers and took over as the head brewer, I didn't realize how much it was going to help me.
Yeah.
And I'm really it really served it's really served me well, and being thoughtful about what I brew and what I put into beer.
Yeah. All right. Well, when we're done, I have a something I need to pass along to you to you afterwards. But
Okay.
so remind me once we jump off here. But so yeah. So speaking of great beer that you guys are putting out, you guys have had a busy week this week with
It's been a busy couple of months.
new beer. Yes, 4 new releases this week.
Each of the last 2 months, we've broken our production records. And the owner's been nice enough to take us golfing out here at the Hagerstown course as a celebration. But yeah, we've had a busy couple of months. But yes, you're right. The last week in particular has been, especially for our sales and social media team, extremely busy.
Exactly. Well, talk us through some of some of those beers that have been released.
Well, our most recent one is The Way. Everyone doesn't know the artwork here. We got, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, I think this is enough in your face pop culture for you to know what's going on. This is actually a collaborative beer we did with our buddies down at Vanish, and I've known Larry since I met him on a BAM bus trip to Evolution Brewing that I'm surprised any of us survived.
I heard of that trip. Yes.
Yeah,
I've heard stories.
Yeah, if I didn't have a half gallon of Gatorade with me, I don't think I would be here today. But it was a great trip, and I'd do it all over again. Don't get me wrong. So yeah, I've known Larry for a long time, and I know that he is at his heart a real purist like me and Aaron. So
Mhm.
he and Aaron came up with this idea of doing this Imperial Pilsner. And when I
Oh,
say Imperial, it's not this incredibly massive thing. It's about 16 Plato, 1064 for you specific gravity guys if I'm brewing. Um, it is really, if it didn't have Imperial on the label, you would just say this is a really outstanding lager. It is clean. It's got that great, almost milky Pilsner malt flavor. We used really good Bohemian floor malted Pilsner malt in it.
mhm.
We used hops from Germany and New Zealand. There's some Nelson Sullivan dry hop in there, and it's just, um, I mean, it really. If you've ever had like really outstanding examples, like a draft Jaeger or Pilsner or Quell or something like that, it's got all those great spicy, grassy nose notes in it, and just that lush, um, really silky malt. And it's I'm really incredibly proud of this beer. We all are. It just we had high hopes for it, and it even just exceeded them. So,
Yeah,
and it's clear. Don't let that. I mean, you're going to be able to see through it. Don't let that freak anybody out.
thank you.
There you go.
Oh, there you
There
go.
it is,
There's
right
one.
there. Clear as a bell. You
I
can read
love
the
it.
date on the dime at the bottom, like a good consomme. And
I love it.
yeah, that's just yeah. I could drink that all night long. And a couple of nights ago, probably should have. But um, so yeah, it's if you are a real purist like me, or if you can't find good examples of lagers to find out what you should be looking for, you need to find this beer
Yeah.
because it'll tell you what lagers are supposed to be like. They're deceptively simple. They're
Mhm.
so simple in their flavor profile, but to get a beer that simple takes a lot of
Yes.
tact and a lot of know-how and a lot of prowess. So,
Mhm.
and that's not me, talking about myself. There's a whole team that went into making this. So, everybody really did their part and made a great beer.
Yeah. Yeah. Those guys down at Vanish, or, anybody who's been in that region has had Vanish beer and Antietam beer, and man, you guys are doing a really solid job. Mike and Larry and everybody down there. Solid brewers, and I'm sure having all of you guys just joining forces on this collab, I can only imagine how unbelievable that is.
It's fun to see people do what they do best,
Mhm.
and doing a beer like this is really what we do the best. We're good brewers, around the board, or we wouldn't be here. But
Yeah.
this is really like if you asked me to make a beer for you tomorrow, it'd probably be a lot like this.
Mhm.
So it's I'm really I'm not surprised that it turned out so well given the people who are working on it.
Yeah.
Not at
Oh,
all.
cool. What are some of the other ones that came out this week?
Well, we have one that you can't see through. Intergalactic. This is our latest hazy. Where's there's a mirrored thing here? Forgive me, everybody. I'm not on drugs or anything.
Oh no, you're good.
Um,
Yeah.
but this is our hazy that's made with Galaxy hops. We managed to come across some Galaxy hops
Ooh.
on the market. For people who don't know, a lot of hops that are really high demand are expensive for one, yes, and contracted. So they're hard to find, but people will contract a little too much to make sure they have enough, and then they'll end up back on the market, which is great, and that's how business is done. And brewers are really good about that. They contact us. We just had somebody contact us about Nelson Stone and say, hey,
Wow.
over contracted. Do you want any? So they don't keep it a secret. It's not hoarding.
Sure.
It's part of this really 80% jerk free, 90% jerk free business brand that everybody likes to, share the wealth. And this is the Intergalactic here. There's a subtle difference between it and the way.
Just a little bit.
If you need to like expand your screen or something, so these two beers apart when you're at a party or something. But brewing this beer is nice because the Galaxy hops in the Whirlpool smell so orangey and spicy. Um, they just really have this really cool character. And I'm being a purist. I'm not a big hazy guy, but like I said, Aaron is such a purist at heart and so restrained in the way he does things that his hazies are so drinkable
Yeah.
and so approachable that I have I really am impressed by them. And
Mhm.
Yeah, so this is a hazy. If you're someone who, like me, rebels a little bit against these newfangled things, uh, don't don't cast this one off without trying it. I think you'll be surprised.
Yeah, friends, if you IPA fans probably already know, but if you've ever had like the greatest IPA ever, odds are it had Galaxy hops in it, and probably a little Citra too, and
This one
Centennial, and
also has Citra in it.
whatever,
Yeah,
and some
yeah,
Simcoe, and
and,
but still, yes, Galaxy is just like the magic ingredient on amazing IPAs. Um, oh man.
the orange peel character of them is really amazing.
Mhm.
I thought we were it smelled exactly like a wit beer when we were brewing when it was in the whirlpool. I was
Really?
just
Oh wow.
yeah, I was almost fooled.
Mhm.
Yeah, they just got this wonderful orangey character to them that I really enjoy.
Oh
And
man.
yeah, being an old schooler, some of the newfangled hops kind of escape me too, but Galaxy's not one of them. They are really actually a very special hop. They're good.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. So I need to get some of that in my life very soon, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
we're gonna brew more. We just got Galaxy hops in today to make more, so it's
oh,
been very
excellent.
popular. We're very flattered by that.
Nice. Um, so yeah, the two that you've shown us so far are available in cans. Obviously they're available there at the brewery. Will they go
Mm.
out into the marketplace in Maryland?
Yeah, these are all distro. You bet.
Great. Oh, awesome.
Uh,
Okay.
and yeah, so you'll wherever you buy Antietam beers, you'll see these.
Love it.
And there's even Matt has been working really hard on sales, and I know of at least one new retail outlet we hit. We're going into this week, and you'll find more and more places where you'll be able to pick this stuff up. And if my friend Peter Johnson's watching, and he may be, the Hefeweizen, we're brewing it like crazy, buddy. I promise it.
Oh
Just keep
yeah.
looking. It's out there.
Oh, that one's solid too. Oh God, yeah, it's sometimes it's hard to find a good Hefeweizen. Man, you guys, like honestly, you guys nailed it pretty well. I
It's
love that, man.
it's about
Um,
the wheat. You got to be courageous with the wheat.
mhm.
If you're going less than 50% wheat, just make something else.
Yeah,
That's kind of where, and I know it's scary. Things stick, and buy yourself a bag of rice hulls and go for it.
yeah. Well, cool, man. Let's see. I see our friend. Whoops. Whoops. Hold on. Trying to get it on here. The our friend Amanda says she's enjoying a liquid courage as
Yeah,
we speak.
liquid courage. Woo!
Love it.
Blackberry, lemon peel, and Noble and Massey cold extracted vanilla paste.
Oh
Uh,
man.
it's another one. Kettle sours. I love European sours, Rodenbach and Duchess de Bourgogne, and Leafman's. They just and kettle sours sometimes to me can take it a little far, but one of the cool things you can do, and this is a very culinary thing to do, and Aaron seemed to have a good idea about this too, is if you use a fruit that's got a little bit of bitterness as part of its flavor profile,
Mhm.
it really marries well with that sour, and you get this balance that is it kind of escapes some sour. So when we did a
Mhm.
cranberry sour last year, it
Yeah.
was delicious because the bitterness of the cranberry complemented the sour so well. The
Mhm.
blackberry is the same here. It's got this great red wine type of quality. Um, and the brightness of the lemon peel, and then the flavor enhancer. The vanilla is used not as a flavoring; it's like a flavor enhancer, like you would use it in a cake or something like that. And so they all just come together, and it's this beautifully balanced sour that
Mhm.
is incredibly drinkable. You're not going to get that sour stomach, that tired lemonade palate that you can get sometimes with really sour things. Um, it's a crusher.
Mhm.
You can really have a good time with this one. Another good one around the fire pit.
Yeah. And that one will also be and available on your shelves.
Yep, and you look for
Yeah.
this can that with our friend Courage, the Cowardly Dog on it, and the things we do for love, right?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just like and we just like you need to. One things you need to compete now is good graphic design. Unfortunately, we have that too.
Yeah. Who you guys
The beer inside
yeah.
matches.
Uh, you guys have some really fun labels. Where do you get your artwork from?
Um, Mostly vagrants. people on the
Oh,
street. No,
oh, good.
it's from
Okay.
Justin.
Yeah. Hey.
Justin here does the vast majority of our artwork, all of
Okay.
it basically, and yeah. So, and Billy, the owner's son, does a lot of it too. A couple very talented guys, and yeah, they show us stuff all the time, and you know, they come up with some really good ideas, and we have some. We couldn't get the artwork files together today for some of the stuff that we're going to do in the future, but we'll definitely talk about it as part of this, without a doubt.
Cool.
Because we do have a couple of really cool things coming up in the future that are going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And you know, one of which we've been talking about pretty much since the day I got here, and we're finally going to brew it. And I'm super excited.
Oh man. Well, we'll circle back to that in a second. What's the
Sure.
fourth one you guys are releasing this week?
Well, this is not a this week release, but this is one you can come get at the. And we're going to brew more of
There
this.
you go.
Don't you worry. It's not a core yet. Just,
Yeah.
who said that? Take it easy, Bob. Bob, I swear to God, we're going to make more. But Raise the Dead. This is, like I said, my girlfriend's favorite beer, and it's a coffee imperial milk stout, and it's made with hyper-caffeinated coffee. So the fights we have in the tap room are just fantastic.
Oh, I love it.
High energy. No, it's so smooth and so nicely done. And again, if you didn't say imperial, you might just say, "Wow, this is really just a heck of a nice coffee milk stout." But it's 7.5% alcohol. It's hidden well by a balance in the flavors, and it really it's deceptively drinkable. I would definitely drink this one. You know, if you're at the tap room,
Sure.
definitely take it easy. But if you're at home, even better place to enjoy more than one.
We're running through some really great new releases. We talked about your Hefeweizen and a lot of your core beers and Lil Ben's and things like that. What would you say is probably your best selling beer that Antietam makes?
That would be a Matt question. What is
I
that,
was going
Matt?
to say I was going to have you defer to one of the gentlemen standing
Yeah.
around you.
I tell you, it's hard. Being the brewer, it's hard to
You
say.
you don't care.
We're brewing so much of everything. I would say they're all kind of selling equally.
Yeah.
Little Mac or Blind Ambition.
Okay.
Yeah, Blind Ambition is our core. It's our core hazy. It's funny being the old man that I am. When I first brewed that beer, I said, "Is there a mistake on the recipe sheet because all the hops are in the whirlpool?"
Oh.
And he said, "No, that's it. That's it." So even this old dog is learning new tricks, which is one of the nice things about brewing is the learning never stops. But Little Mac is kind of our classic pale ale, really really nicely done.
That one.
And it's one of those beers that takes me back to when I started brewing in the mid '90s, early 2000s. Great balance, good hop flavor, doesn't make your tongue dead. But if you want some hops, it'll definitely take care of that too.
Yeah. Oh, cool. All right. So, friends, if you're looking for some great Antietam beer, you can always find it at the brewery. But look at your local retailers for things like Lil Ben's, the Little Mac, which another fantastic beer. Don't pass them up. If you don't see them on your shelves, ask for them. Kyle says he loves Blind Ambition.
Awesome.
So
Drink all you want. We'll make more.
exactly. Oh man. Well, so we're talking about some great beers. And you mentioned about Wee Heavies being one of your favorites and everything. Uh, the Out of the beers that you've had, we've all as beer fans gone through a number of them in our time. Is there a beer or two that really sticks out in your head that you've had over the years that was just a mind-blowingly amazing beer that you love?
Yeah, there are. The first time I had Alexander Rodenbach on tap,
Ooh, okay.
I saw stars. Really just one of the jobs I had my second year of culinary school, I was actually the assistant manager at a huge beverage retailer called Halftime. And at the time, they had about 1,000 beers. Now they have 2 locations and a couple thousand beers. So we got all these really incredible things in, and that's where I fell in love with Bière de Garde. I Bière de Garde. The first time I had a really good one, like Castellane or something like that. I really heard trumpets, and just an amazing thing. The first time I had Aventinus Weizenbach, you know, that really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And yeah, just these, you know, when I had when I managed to score a bottle of Cantillon's apricot lambic. I knew lambics could be good, but I never knew they could be that good. What pairs better with beer, red or blue Doritos? You know, I don't want to talk politics on this podcast. That's not what we're here for. No red and blue tonight.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's, you know, there are. Yeah, I didn't think about it until you asked, but yeah, there are moments, just like with food. You know, the first time I had certain foods where I was just like, "Holy cow, where has this been all my life?" And you know, that's again part of the fun of the job, is people are always bringing you beers like that, or you're finding them somewhere, and you know, the world is new again.
And friends, if you're enjoying a great beer, let us know in the comments what you're drinking. If you've got a favorite beer that we need to check it out, throw it in the comments. Always looking for good suggestions if we can get them. And as always, let us know what your favorite Antietam beers are too.
And for Scotch Ales, Truck Warehouse, brewed in the oldest inhabited house in Scotland.
Really? Oh wow!
Yeah.
Well, that sounds fun.
A beautiful example. Comes in little 11-ounce bottles. If you can find it, definitely.
Oh man!
And it'll keep. Right. So if the dates are a little old, don't sweat it.
Okay.
You'll be all right.
Oh man!
Because it might not come to the country too often, so you might get a little older bottle, but don't sweat it; it'll be fine.
I'm going to have to remember that one. I'll have to write that one down. Okay. Favorite movie. All right. Matt's having a little too much of the Imperial.
Yeah, favorite movie.
Imperial. It depends
on the movie. It depends on the links I get in my email, Matt.
Oh man! All right. Well then, so on the flip side, and we ask this for everybody. Everybody who's on the show gets asked this question: What do you think has been your least favorite beer you've ever had? And if you need a second, I can tell you what my top 2 or 3 are. That one always makes everybody think.
I'm being cued by some folks here, but no.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's
knowing who's here, I may have also had that beer that you're thinking of. But go ahead.
No, it's that's funny. That's a harder one, because you know, when you're younger and, you know, of an age where you're not supposed to be drinking, you drink all those beers, but you don't care because you have beer, right? So when you're drinking Wiedemann's or Olympia in the backyard because someone managed to score a case for $3.99, you don't think too much about it. With inflation, it's probably still only $4.99. But
I remember being at a party and having China Light.
Oh, you know, Iron City made with real Monongahela river water. That can be a little tough sometimes. But you know, and if you're from Pittsburgh, God bless you. I'm not making fun of your culture, but you know, there are things that people from outside don't understand. You know, like when I lived in New Orleans, boudin is a liver sausage that will just knock your socks off. But people hear liver and they don't want it. I get it. I'm not here to judge. But to me, you know, Iron City is a little bit like, you know, some people might feel about liver sausage, and that's okay. George loves me. That's our cook.
There you go.
That's fair. But yeah, I can't. That's funny. I can't. Oh no, you know, when we were on that BAM bus trip, and I've told this story before. I mean, I'm gonna keep it PG. I had a sip of an Austrian Gose that I think was just served too warm. That was one of the most foul, and I don't remember the name of it, or I tell you, one of the most foul and disgusting things I have tasted in food and beverage in general in my entire life.
Wow.
I mean, yeah.
It was like the Vegemite of beer or something.
It was. I would have rather had Vegemite. Again, one of my girlfriend's favorite things.
Really?
But yeah, I oh, she loves Vegemite. Yeah, and she's not Australian. No, she's from she's from here, but somehow I don't know, lost a bet or something and likes Vegemite.
Oh man. Yeah. For me, I think I had my I had my third worst beer a couple weeks ago, which isn't saying a whole lot that you made third worst, but at least it wasn't first. It was one of those bourbon. Oh God, what is it? Not Bourbon County. It's the bourbon ale series, Kentucky Bourbon Ale series.
Oh, I know.
Um,
Yeah, the KBS stuff or something
no,
like
no,
that.
no, it's not
No, not
KBS.
KBS.
No, no, it's not even that good. It's not even as good as. No, it's oh God, I have a picture. I'll have to dig up. But yeah, it was a blackberry, like a blackberry sour stout, I think. And it was like all four of us just poured it out. It was that horrifically bad. Um, so yeah, yeah,
I
that
do remember at a beer tasting, it was a strong beer tasting
yeah.
that when I was at Growlers we were invited to be part of. There was a sweet potato and pumpkin porter there
Okay.
that was infected to the
Oh,
point that, I mean, you couldn't even swallow it, almost couldn't swallow it politely in front of the brewers.
oh jeez.
Um, and somehow that beer that night won. The beer that won the People's Choice that night was Barrett Lauer down at Chop House. Made this just
Oh,
incredible Woodford aged barley wine. I mean, it was out of control. And then that other beer, won second place in the People's Choice. And I looked at my assistant and I said, "Am I Alice in Wonderland?" Because I feel like we just went down the rabbit hole.
yeah,
There's some weird stuff going on here, but you run into stuff like that every once in a while. And I know that particular brewery has to, obviously for professional reasons, I won't name, has righted their ship and is doing good beer now. And these things happen sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So is there um, is there a style of beer that you haven't brewed yet that you would want to?
I've been so lucky in my career at Growlers and at Vintage 50. They gave me such creative freedom.
Mhm.
And then at Growlers, we also had a pilot brewery where we could do some stuff that I've brewed a lot of the things I've always wanted to. And I've been so lucky. But there are some things just for technical reasons you can't, like those really good Flemish sours.
Mhm.
If I could ever have the equipment and the time to do something like that, I would love to do that. Um, the and, but yeah, I've been just incredibly lucky, and in Cap City too. When I worked down at Capital City,
Mhm.
um, Bo, who's now the head brewer, was the head brewer there, is now the head brewer at Strangeways, and is doing great work down there.
Mhm.
Bo would take suggestions. He was a great manager, and we talked to him, and he'd say, "Yeah, let's brew that." So we got to do things like Beer to Mars and Dark Milds, and really just incredibly fun stuff. So yeah, I really couldn't think of anything off the top of my head that um, I need to scratch that itch on, because I've really been incredibly lucky.
Yeah. Do you guys do? I'm trying to remember. Do you guys do any barrel aging there?
No, not at the moment. We are barrel aging a little wheezy here for Brian Roberts, because he doesn't have the space in that
Wow.
area. Yeah, and but
Brian,
that's going to
who?
be a while. He got
Oh,
some really beautiful 10th Ward barrels, and man,
oh
when we
yeah.
were filling them up, man, the aroma was unbelievable.
Well,
You almost wanted to keep the
Brian,
planks. So, but
Brian might be short
Brian,
a
I'm
barrel.
sure will. If you ask Brian, I'm sure he's a nice guy. He'll tell you what's going on with that.
Yeah,
But
Brian,
if the non-barrel age is available,
he might be short a barrel. He just doesn't know it yet. Um, yeah, and I know Monica at 10th Ward, friends at 10th Ward Distilling in Frederick, does amazing craft spirits. So I can only imagine how awesome that beer is going to taste.
if the smell of the barrels is any indication, I have not had a chance to have their whiskeys yet, but I will, because I'm a bourbon drinker, big time. So,
As am
but
I.
if the smell of these barrels was any indication, holy cow, yeah, their whiskeys have got to be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's another interesting thing we've done. I've just handed our Hemp City that we did with Above the Clouds. This is actually made with hemp flower, and
Oh wow.
uh, a lot of people might be thinking, "Oh, great, a gimmick," and it's not. Um, this is incredibly expensive and high quality hemp. When you smell really good hemp or
Right.
other things related to hemp,
Yeah.
you really see how they're related to hops. When they're really high quality, you can see how they're part of the same family.
Yeah.
There's not the burning rope phenomenon going on here. And this beer has this spice and earth character to it. it's a nice IPA at its base, and kept really simple so the hemp could really be the star of the show. And we have that. We have a few 4-packs that left. We have it on draft here, and that we can only get here, right? Yeah, that's not distro. That's just here because we only made a small batch of it to see how it would go. And it was really funny because we dry hopped it with hops and with hemp. And for a few days, we're like, oh, there's just hops, man. What's going on? And then suddenly, out of nowhere, boom, one day we're taking the gravity on it, and the hemp was just right in your face, but just so delightful.
Yeah.
You know, it was like a walk through a garden.
And what style of beer is that?
It's just a nice kind of American style pale ale at its base. You know, medium hoppy, and the hemp on the nose and the flavor is really the star of the show. So a lot of hemp in the whirlpool, and a nice dry hop of hemp in the tank. And just Kyle recommended the Hemp City. Thank you, Kyle. And it's it's not. And you can look at things like that. I know it's really easy to say, oh, that's some gimmick that someone's playing. It's probably going to taste like, you know, bong water. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It is really just a nice beer.
And I've had one of those bong water beers. God, what was the one? God, I'm trying to remember which brewery it was now. I just had it in my head. I think they called it Hemper, yeah, Hemper, I think, a couple of years ago. Is
that New Belgium?
Yeah, New Belgium. Yeah, and it smelled like a Grateful Dead concert, and didn't taste much better. But yeah,
I once read a positive review about Pliny the Younger, and I'm not talking trash about the beer. I just read this review that said it smelled like an 8th grade dope fiend's backpack. And I was like, so that's. And I tell you, I'm glad. Being the old man I am, I'm glad that dank is not a huge part of the brewing lexicon anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, hoppiness can be a good thing, but when you take it to the point where, you know, you wonder if you passed out, on the carpet of a frat house, it might be a little too much.
Oh, jeez, that's funny. And just to circle back around, Brian, our friend at Mad Science Brewing, he was on the show a couple of months ago, I think. I'll put a link to his interview on this as well. He says it'll be smoked bourbon and Maryland rye aged wheezy.
Yep.
So, man.
1 barrel of each. And for those of you who don't know, Brian's day job is he's a virologist. Yes. And he is working incredibly hard on COVID right now. Mm-hmm. And if, he's one of the guys who is actively trying to make sure you're getting vaccines, trying to find effective treatments. So that's, not just a good beer. That's another reason to support Brian because, he is doing the Lord's work right now. Even if you're not religious, he's doing it. So, definitely go see Brian and have a few beers and thank him for what he's doing because he's going to be one of the reasons that we're going to be able to get back to some sense of normalcy someday.
Yeah, and a hell of a nice guy to boot. So,
good dude. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. Whenever he comes up here to brew, we have a blast. I love brewing with Brian. He's a good dude. We also, Scott McKernan from Rockwell. I'm actually in a band that's going to be playing at Rockwell tomorrow. We're part of a showcase.
I saw that.
Yeah, and that's a lot of fun. And, Scott, and that's part of the fun of this job is, we do some contract brewing. We contract with just the coolest dudes. Yeah. There's nobody who comes in, you're like, not this guy. It's just not like that. You're like, oh, cool, Scott's going to be here today. Right on.
Yeah.
And it's a good time. That's part of the fun of this job.
Yeah, and it's funny. People ask me, and friends, we've talked about this, several times about the Maryland beer community seems to be, but I was told is a bit of an anomaly. Apparently, it's Maryland and like Colorado are like the two states where the beer community supports each other in just tremendous ways. The brewers are friends. They like each other. They hang out together. They drink each other's beer. They're fans of each other, and you just don't get that everywhere. A friend of mine who's well entrenched in the New Jersey beer scene says that right now it's the 5 largest breweries are doing everything they can to crush every small one. And in Maryland, it's just not like that at all. So
it's part of the New Jersey DNA to be mafioso, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah, exactly. As somebody who grew up there, I can completely vouch on that. So, uh, but yeah, the
Yeah, it's and it's funny. It didn't used to be that way, not because we didn't like each other, but
yeah,
before the Maryland craft beer community grew to where there were some networks,
mhm,
we were very fragmented. So
yeah,
we never saw each other. And I
mhm,
was in Gaithersburg. That was only, as the crow flies, about 10 miles away from Rockville, but we might as well have been on another planet because when you're going down 355 and hitting a traffic light every 3 feet,
yeah,
it takes you an hour to get there. So,
mhm,
we would never see these guys like when Kevin Blodger from Union was there.
yeah,
We saw him once in the 3 years I worked there because it was so hard to get that short distance.
yeah,
And Christian Lake, he came by once. Actually, he came with Kevin when he was getting ready to take over that Gordon Bridge location. And great guy. We just never got to see him.
mhm,
And, so now I'm glad that it's grown to the point where you're right. It's like that.
yeah,
Because, there's enough people where you can build these, 1 or 2 degrees of separation. And everybody gets to know each other a little bit.
yeah. No, I love it. We're we talked about that's a fun noise. So we're talking about some collaborations. The contract brewing. Of course, we just mentioned a bunch of really awesome brewers in the Maryland community. With If you were to do a collaboration, like a dream collaboration, who would that be with?
Oh my gosh. Uh, that's tough. Um, I don't think they're alive anymore because
Really?
and I don't mean that they're recently passed away. I mean there'd be people from history that I'd be really
Yeah,
curious about, or it would be a more general thing. Like I would love to work at a Trappist brewery for a few days and
yeah,
find out what a day-to-day life of being a Trappist brewer is like, and learn more about those beers because they're so singular and so amazing. And maybe that's like I haven't had a chance to brew something like St. Bernardus 12 or something like that. Maybe that is something that on my list of beers I've never brewed that I'd like to do. I've done things like Belgian quads, but nothing real specific like
yeah,
that. It's yeah, and it would probably be more general like that. But there are guys like um, I love the story of Fritz Maytag. Walking, selling the shares in his family company and walking around with beer and people saying I thought they were out of business. I'd love to spend the day brewing with or making whiskey with Fritz Maytag, just to find out, what goes through his head.
yeah,
And it would be more of a personal connection than a brewing one. But, brewing would be the bridge to do that, which would be a lot of fun.
yeah. Well, what do you think you would be doing if you weren't in the brewing industry?
Um, Homeless? No. That's a good question. I'd probably be back in the culinary business, but if I could just do whatever I wanted, I would probably be in the arts. I've done some acting and some music, and if I, if I had some opportunities when I got older, like into my late 30s and 40s, I didn't have when I was younger. If I had those opportunities when I was in my teens and 20s, I might not be a brewer today. I
Yeah,
might be trying to make it as an actor and a comedian and a singer and things like that. So that might be what I'd be doing is applying my trade on a stage somewhere and seeing if I can make it.
yeah. Oh, cool, man. Well, let's see. Um, let's see. So yes, you've got four beers that just or three that just released, one that's about to that are available in cans at the brewery and soon in retailers near you, if not already. So be sure to find those. Um, the Do you any sneak peeks on upcoming beers that might be releasing soon that you can tell us about?
We're going to be doing a hazelnut oatmeal stout,
Oh, that sounds good.
and the hazelnut. One of the first things I said is my girlfriend has a life-threatening nut allergy, so whatever we do, we have to be careful of that because I can't go home covered in hazelnut paste or whatever. And we
Sure.
found an outstanding natural hazelnut product that is nut-free
Mhm.
and will be safe for everybody to drink
Yeah.
and won't be artificial. So we have that coming, and the beer that we've been talking about pretty much since I got here is going to be called Planet Dunkel, and it's going to be a chocolate Dunkelweizen.
Okay.
And Dunkelweizen is another one of my favorite styles of beer. I love a good Dunkelweizen.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll be doing that with some TCHO cocoa nibs, again, all natural. And there's some conscientiousness there. TCHO isn't just something we're using because it's available, but it's a certified slave-free chocolate product.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to think about those things when you're making beer. And it may cost a little extra, but there are people who have to work to grow your products, and it's okay to think about them. It's not only okay, it's an obligation. When you're
Yeah.
working with something that is reliant on agricultural products, you got to think about the people who grow them.
Mm-hmm. So what would be a great piece of advice that you can give to somebody who wanted to get into the brewing industry?
Don't. No. There's a couple of different pieces of advice. If you're someone who just turned 21, or someone who can get into the brewing industry young, and that's your career path,
Mm-hmm.
I say absolutely go for it. Find out if that's something you want to do. When you're that young, that's what you do. You find your path, and be ready to get dirty. And I at the risk of sounding like Mike Rowe, people don't realize that you're going to flip kegs a lot for not a lot of money, and that's where everybody starts. I started as a cellarman. Everybody starts as a cellarman. You got to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
You got to understand the cleaning and the mechanics before you can understand the theory. But yeah, do it. Be ready to get dirty. Be ready to not make a lot of money, but be ready to go home happy a lot more than a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Be ready to be excited to go to work is the trade-off. That's the balance. So yeah, you'll be wet, you'll be dirty, you'll be sweaty, but you'll be really satisfied with your work. If you're someone who's a little older and you're a career changer, again, be ready to get wet, get dirty, but be ready to understand that when you're part of a craft, there's a career progression, and you have to earn your chops to move up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not ready at this stage in your life to start over and earn your way up, think about that hard, because your ability is your calling card in this business. You can be the nicest guy in the world, and people will like that about you. But if you don't make good beer, and if you haven't taken the time to make good beer, you're not going to be a good fit in this business.
No.
So, those are the two pieces of advice I would get. But if it's something you're determined to do and it's something you love, the other thing is be wary of turning a hobby into a job.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it's something you want to be a career. I don't brew beer at home.
No.
And I don't make very much at home. Those were my professions, and they're not things that I enjoy as hobbies. So make sure you want that job satisfaction rather than just the open world of a hobbyist. Because the open world of a hobbyist can be incredibly rewarding, and you don't want to rob yourself of that. But if it's what you want to do and you're just fascinated by it, and getting dirty doesn't bother you, join the community, work hard, and your hard work will be rewarded by people who respect you and will move you up.
Well, there you go. It's always a good question to ask on a Thursday night as we're all going into a Friday. If after a long work week, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are sitting around Friday morning going, "Oh, what did he say about that last night?" So you may be the inspiration to a few brewers. You've been around this business a long time.
Yes.
Is there to close it out? Is there a fantastic story you can tell us about your brewing days that won't get anybody arrested or divorced?
When I was in my first year of culinary school, I was dating a lovely person who is now the managing editor of All Recipes, of all things.
Oh,
And I was taking a break to pay the bills and taking a year off from culinary school so I could go back. And she came to where I worked one day and said, "Hey, I'm in my chocolates class, and there's a guy in there named Pete Schlossberg. Do you know him?" And I said, and this was in 2000, I said, "Who the hell doesn't know Pete Schlossberg? He's the founder of Pete's Wicked Ales."
oh, okay.
And I had just taken over
Mm-hmm.
as the head brewer of an ailing brewery, as a favor to the people who worked there, because they were very nice and I wanted to help them. And so she told Pete about me, and I got to have lunch with Wicked Pete.
Wow.
And talk for hours with him about stuff. And at the time, that's like, a young guitarist meeting Eddie Van Halen, you know, for a guy in my business, and
Sure.
you know, hanging out with Wicked Pete, and that was just a real blast. The time we got written up in the Washington Post, we were growlers.
Mm.
Was so gratifying because you know, we were being recognized for our work, and you know, that was great. And it wasn't just me; it was my two assistants who were just absolutely busting their butts to help make me look good too. And they've moved on to great things, and I'm very proud of them. Eric Gleason is now at Manor Hill, and
I've lost him.
I think Thomas is still at Atlas. And you know, just yeah, things like that. And you know, of course, your first medal always feels good, and things like that. But the medals are really, it's more about the people. One day people will forget my beer, but the people I worked with, they're the people who are going to keep talking about me. And that's, you know, the ancient Greeks talk about kleos. That's my kleos. That's my fame after I'm gone. Is hopefully, you know, the brewing stories people tell about me will be more important than the brewing stories I tell.
Yeah. Oh man, well, cool. That's awesome. I love that. Somebody actually was just asking me about Pete's Wicked Ale not too long ago, and we I think in some weird way we all kind of want it to come back at some point. So.
Wait, yeah, I asked him because he sold out. It was right after he sold out, and I said, "Why'd you sell?" And he said, "After a while, they offer you so much money that you simply can't say no anymore." I was like, "Well, good for you. Can I borrow some?" But
Yeah, well,
he paid for lunch that day, bless his heart. But they he went on to, he was at the chocolates class because he started a chocolate company because he had to sign a non-compete clause when he sold.
oh
Not
gee,
surprising. And he started a chocolate company called Cocoa Pete's, and when his non-compete clause expired, I know he started a session ale company, and after that, I kind of lost track of him myself
yeah,
because I met him. I kind of tried to keep track of what he was doing,
mm,
but just one of the, I mean, one of those exemplars of, you know, nice people. And you know, the time I got to have lunch with Sam Calagione down at Dogfish Head, everybody treats him like Paul McCartney, but he's just this guy who's built this incredible world for him and his employees,
yeah,
and he's just a dude. And you know, he's an incredibly nice dude. And he really, so that was a fun time. You know, another one of those personal connections that I really like. You know, talking to Sam Calagione, and you know, that's a lot of fun. And really, that's where it's at for me. Is it really the brewing is fun. I'm not
mm,
going to pretend like it's not. It's a blast, but it's just so full of cool people that
yeah.
that's the even more fun part.
Well, cool. Well, and Brett, I think you rank up there with them. You've been a fantastic guest.
Thank
Real
you.
quick, run through the four beers that we were talking about tonight, just real quick.
This is the way. You'll notice that it has Mandalorians on it. That'll be
Exactly.
your visual cue. Hem City. You'll notice that it has hemp leaves on it. Visual cue. Intergalactic. Uh, I guess the visual cue is it looks intergalactic.
Yeah.
Our
With
hazy.
Hazy
Um,
IPA with Galaxy.
Raise the Dead, which originally started, as you can tell by the artwork and stuff, it's kind of a Halloween thing, but it's gotten popular enough that we do. You know,
Mhm.
I'll see a couple of bags of lactose pop up on the shelf, and I know it's coming. So, really, it just be careful with that one. It's more drinkable than it should be.
Mhm.
And Liquid Courage are blackberry, lemon, vanilla sour, and nothing. One of the things, one of the rules I've always had as a brewer is no liquid lollipops.
Mhm.
You gotta make things with good ingredients, and
Yeah.
this is like that. Real dried lemon peel, no craziness added, nothing added, blackberry puree, and really Noble and Massey is the best vanilla are the best vanilla products on the market.
Yeah.
This is the real deal. As a culinarian, even I mean that beer, those are the things I would use as a chef to make
Nice.
really good food. So, you know, that's another thing I really love about this brewery is we don't play that extract silliness game. Either it's a good product that goes into the beer, or we look elsewhere.
Mhm. I love it. Well, friends, if you want to find Antietam's beers, including the ones that Brett just showed us, check them out at the brewery, at your local retailer, across Maryland and West Virginia, and West Virginia, and
Are we in West Virginia still? Yep. Yep.
and but you're in parts of Northern Virginia.
Quad State. We're Quad State.
Yeah. Quad
Quad
State and DC. I'm just told.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so friends, you can find it if you're
More
watching.
breaking news.
Yeah, if you're watching this, you can probably find it at your local retailer. If you don't see it on shelves, ask for it. You can also find them at antietamBrewery.com or on social media on Facebook and Instagram. If you're at the brewery and you see Bret or Justin or Matt or any of the other guys who are hanging out here, stop by, say hi, tell them you saw them on Frank About Beer, and that's what they look like. You can tell by their eyeballs.
That's right. No,
I
and
love it.
yeah, it's like we're not snobs in the brewing industry. You know, we'll talk to you if you want to ask us questions. Know more about what's going on, see the equipment, whatever. We're not going to turn our noses up at you. It's not an art gallery. We'll tell you what you want to know, because without the customers, we're nothing.
Yeah.
So we need you more than you need us, and that's what the capitalist overlords don't want to tell you.
Yeah. Real quick before we go, what's the 30-second story on the car that's in the brew house?
Oh, the Model T?
Yeah, people want to know about that
one. It's gone. We've actually sold it.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Well, never mind.
Yeah, we sold it, but it was an impulse buy by Bill and Stacy, and it was a cool thing. But no, we found an interested buyer, and it has moved out now. But hopefully they're having fun with it, because it did run. It's very difficult to drive, being as old as it is, because of the clutches and everything. But yeah, it was a neat old thing. Okay. But with expansion came the need for space, and so the car found a new home.
There you go. All right. Well, cool deal. All right. Well, Bret, thanks so much for joining us tonight. And
absolutely my pleasure.
And we'll talk to you soon.
I hope so.
All right. So again, friends, thanks so much for watching. As always, I'll have links to a lot of these things we talked about in the show notes tomorrow on Frank About Beer's Facebook page at Frank About Beer. You can also find me on Instagram at Frank About Beer and Twitter and YouTube. Some of you may be watching me on YouTube on the live stream on the channel. You can find Antietam Brewery at antietamBrewery.com. One note: if you're looking for them on Facebook, it's a little tricky to find. You'll see a couple of them out there. It's a long story. You want the one that says Antietam Brewery, Western Maryland Parkway. So long story. That's the one you want to follow. I'll have a link to that in the show notes tomorrow as well. So make sure that you click that, give them a follow on Facebook and Instagram. They're really great people. They're putting out tremendous beer. Like I say, if you haven't had Antietam's beers in a while, try them again. I guarantee you're going to be surprised. Really putting out great work. Friends, as always, thanks so much for watching. Next week, we're taking a week off. But if you are a brewer and would like to be featured on the show, drop me a line. Let's get you on the calendar. As always, if you'd like to be a sponsor of the show, drop me a line and let's talk. But we're trying to line up we're in talks with a couple really interesting folks and some great brewers and really interesting people coming up here. So be sure to check it out. Follow me on Frank About Beer. Follow Antietam Brewery, Western Maryland Parkway on Facebook, and we'll see you soon. So thanks for joining us. Cheers.